Hi, hello, and welcome to Shankar IAS Academy's Daily Current Affairs Analysis. Today's date is 4/1/2026, and we have a lot of interesting topics for the day. Let's move into it. So, the first topic of the day is about a fish. It is in the Death Valley of USA in Nevada, and it has a lot of significance, and it is one of the most protected species in the world. So this is the first topic. The second topic is about Saudi Arabia, and it has made a plan to turn itself into a green country. And let's see if it's possible, what are the pros, what are the cons, if there are any. The third topic is about the antimicrobial resistance. So recently we had seen that our Prime Minister Modi ji had told that antimicrobial resistance is the next silent pandemic. So let's look at it in detail. The fourth topic of the day is about the rural-urban continuum and how there is a mismatch and what can be done and how it can be integrated is the fourth topic. The fifth topic of the day is the Prelims Focus. Please like, comment, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also hit on the bell icon if you want to receive instant updates on our news articles and other initiatives that we bring along the way. So with that, let's move to the first topic. So the first topic of the day, as we have already discussed, is about this rare fish that is present in the Death Valley in US, and this has shown extreme adaptation skills, and that's why it's becoming very, very important in the UPSC point of view. So let's look into it and how we have to go about understanding each phenomenon that this fish survives in. So the species overview. First, we'll look into the common name. The common name of the species is the devil's hole pupfish. So this devil's hole is its habitat, which is why it's called the devil's hole pupfish. That's where the name origins. Next is the scientific name, Cyprinodon diabolis. Cyprinodon diabolis is the scientific name. Then the taxonomic family is again Cyprinodon tidae. And the status is that this is very, very important for the UPSC point of view because we're talking about such a rare fish. In the UPSC point of view, we see that this is in the IUCN Red List. This is very, very important. And the key distinction that we talk about right now is that it is known about the as the one of the very, very small fishes that is present. And in any geographical vertebrate species. So we know that there are two kinds of species. One is the vertebrate, one is the invertebrate. So in case if you are talking about the vertebrate is which has a backbone, and the invertebrate is which does not have a no backbone. This is basically that, and this is the smallest known. How small is it's just between 2 to 3 inches. The fish is just about 2 to 3 inches wide. So this is the composition. First we have seen about the name of the fish, then we have seen about its scientific name, then we have seen about its taxonomic family, then we have seen about its status, then about its key distinction. With this we move to the next slide. The next slide is about the habitat and distribution. So as I've already mentioned, it is endemic. Endemic here means it's specific to a particular location. It's very, very specific to a particular location. Devil's Hole, Ash Meadows, Nevada. Here in this Devil's Hole is present in the Death Valley. As I had mentioned during the first slide, it's present in the Death Valley, and here there is a limestone cavern, and the limestone cavern is with a single shallow rock shell. There's a rock shell there, and that's where these fishes are present. Now what's this cavern? The cavern is nothing but a cave here, and this is where this limestone cave is present, and in the cave we have a lot of holes, and the holes is where this fish goes and resides. So we can see that this is where the fish will go and reside. This is actually fed by geothermal water. What does geothermal water mean? Heat from the earth. Heat from earth. Based on the heating of the water, it survives in warm water. So the temperature is about 33 degree to 34 degree approximately. So that's where the water is that hot, that's where it survives. and even in very low dissolved oxygen conditions, this particular fish can survive. So what is the key distinction or the key takeaway here? The point is that it is only a few square kilometers and it is extremely vulnerable. The population of the fish is extremely vulnerable because there are only, like, when there are extreme conditions, only 40 to 50 fishes survive. It is an extremely vulnerable fish. Okay. Earlier we had already seen that in the IUCN list it's critically endangered. So here you know that there is high vulnerability. It proves that there is also high vulnerability. So moving on, the population characteristics. The population size fluctuates deeply and it is already dropped below 40 to 50 individuals during adverse years. During years there are any kind of changes that threaten that particular fish is dropped below 50 years. Next, the reproduction. So how is it reproducing? How is it this happening? So if we see, we have the limestone cavern. Let's imagine this is the limestone inside the cave. Now the eggs are laid inside this holes. This is the shallow shelf and this is where the eggs are laid. And this larvae will come inside the deeper water. It will go and like store itself inside the deeper water. Now once it goes deep into the ocean, it has high mortality. So it is easier to, break that particular egg, or it dies by itself, some other fish predates it. There are a lot of higher susceptibility to the death of that particular egg. So this is threat sensitive, and we see that if there is any seismic activity, or if there is any change in the water level, or if there is any change in the temperature level, then this becomes a threat. So in threat, we have a few things. The first is climate. If there is any climate change. The second is if there is any seismic activity. The third is if there is any temperature distribution change. And the fourth is any anthropogenic cause, like groundwater drilling or something like that. Now, next is the unique physiological and genetic features. First, we'll have to talk about the metabolic adaptation of the fish. So, if you see, it exhibits a paradoxical anaerobism. What does anaerobic mean? Anaerobic usually means that there is no use of oxygen or lesser use of oxygen. But why is it a paradox here? A paradox usually means that it is in the opposite end of spectrum. Why does it mean paradox? Is that there is actually oxygen availability, but this particular devil's fish does not want to consume the oxygen, which is why it's paradoxically anaerobic. Next is it temporarily switches to anaerobic metabolism despite oxygen availability. We have understood that with the term itself. The genetic profile is that among most genetically inbred vertebrates, it's studied, and about 58% of the genome shows long runs of homozygosity. What does homozygosity mean? Here, usually we'll see a term called allele when we study about genes in biology. In that, if you have one gene from your mom and one gene from your dad, you'll have genetic diversity. Okay, but now if you have two genes from the same person, it will be put as AA. Okay, so in that case, you will not have high gene variation. You will have lesser gene variation, which is why it's called as homozygosity. This particular devil's fish has homozygosity and hence has lower genetic variation. Okay. Next, the challenge is that Traditional assumptions are that at any given point in time, this particular fish is going to get extinct because this particular fish is vulnerable. No matter what we do, this particular fish is going to be vulnerable, and henceforth it will be extinct. So this is the scientific importance of the fish. Next is about the conservation significance. If I tell you that this species has more protection than most human communities in the world, will you believe that? Because in 1960s to 1970s, there was a case in USA to protect that fish because it was very, very ecologically significant. In the means that it did not help the human community, but then it showed rare features and adaptation resilience. So this is why this species was to be conserved. Now, if you are conserving one particular species which is not useful to human community and the fraternity, then it's called as ecocentric species conservation. And this protected area is in Ash Meadows National Wildlife Refuge. We have already seen that in Nevada, it's there. And conservation tools are controlled captive breeding, okay, habitat protection and water level regulation. This is also something that we do very usually, nothing different here. Broader relevance is that this species shows how the groundwater is present. Is the groundwater stable? Is the groundwater properly utilized? Is it okay to be utilized? This is an indicator species of that particular region. And also here you can also use this particular example in the context of climate ethics in GS4. So who decides which species should be extinct and which species should not be extinct, and which species should be given protection? Who decides that? And if there are like two parallels that we talk about, we can talk about one particular tribal group or one particular species group, and we can see the conservation difference that is given and the ecosystem conservation difference that is happening, and we can talk about the climate ethics in this particular regard if we are going to quote this in GS4. Then it is important for evolutionary biology and conservation genetics. This is also, yes, we can see about how it is taking place in the form of evolution in the forthcoming years, and the conservation that is needed and how it's genetically important. Next, additional information is that this devil's fish, it belongs to a family called as Cyprinodon, and this genus includes several desert adapted pupfish species, and it is present in North America. So the devil's hole pupfish is often cited in environmental litigation and groundwater management cases in the US. We have seen this already. I've told this already, so I have also mentioned the year. You can check about the 1960s to 1970s case, environmental cases regarding the conservation of the pupfish. And the next is, it is not a cave fish. It has eyes and pigmentation against true troglobic species. What does it mean? It means cave species which wants to be in the dark. But here it's not truly that kind of a species, and it's considered as a classic example of endemism, surviving in a specific region, extreme ecological specialization. Now we come to the prelims practice question of the day. With reference to the devil hole pupfish, consider the following statements. It is endemic to a geothermal limestone cavern in the Mojave Desert and survives in high temperature, low oxygen waters. Yes, the first statement, as we all know, is right. Now the second statement, the species shows unusually high genetic diversity. No, we know that it has similar alleles and it has a low genetic diversity which contributes to its resilience in extreme environments. Which of the following statements given above are correct? We know that 2 is wrong, so the answer should be 1 only. Let's check the answer. Yes, the answer is one only. With this, we have come to the end of the next topic, and let's move to the greening plan of Saudi Arabia, and let's understand how it has a how is it has cons, and how it is relevant to the UPSC perspective. So the second topic of the day is about Saudi Arabia's desert greening plan. It's very, very important because Saudi Arabia faces a lot of drought and it is a desert born region. So this is why it wants to turn this particular desert into a green forest, and let's look about it. So the core initiative. Saudi Arabia has started this initiative way back. And what is the core initiative? The core initiative is that it was launched in 2021. That is the Saudi Green Initiative. It was launched in 2021 under Vision 2030. That is, the ceiling limit for this was 2030, and it wanted to change Saudi Arabia into a green forest. And the central goal is that it wanted to plant 10 billion trees within Saudi Arabia. Now, what did they want to do with the green initiative is that if they plant trees, they thought it would be a climate resilience step. So they could have better, they could be in a buffer zone if something happens. This is why this initiative is a part of the broader Middle East Green Initiative. It targets about, first it wanted to plant about 10 billion trees. Now it targets about 50 billion trees across the region. The whole region is targeted about 50 billion trees. And the next is about the geographical and ecological context. 95% of this land is a desert and it's home to Rab al Khali, the empty quarter. It is the largest continuous sand desert in the world. That is, it's about 650,000 square kilometers. So the largest continuous sand desert in the world. This is a very, very important geographical feature. So as already told, it has extremely low rainfall. That's why this is a drought prone region, and it has poor soil. It has high temperature. So the evaporation is also faster. And as it has poor soil, extremely low rainfall and high temperature, this afforestation initiative that we are talking about is ecologically very, very challenging to be done. So now moving on to the next slide, the progress achieved so far is that there are 151 million trees that are planted and there are about 5 lakh hectares of land rehabilitated. So now the target is that it wants to plant more than 600 million trees by the end of 2030 and 10 billion trees in the long term. So this is the target achieved, and this is the futuristic target that it is having. So Saudi Arabia is having all these targets. Next is the scientific planning approach. So what is the scientific plan present here? It has a 2-year feasibility study. That is, the Ministry of Environment, Water and Agriculture has given this feasibility, and the National Center for Vegetation Development and Combating Desertification also has studied about this. So there are two things. These two institutions have studied about this particular phenomena: the National Center for Vegetation Development and Combating Desertification and Ministry of Environment, Water and Agriculture. Now, about the surveys. The soil, in the surveys, we can identify about the soil type, the water availability, the temperature, and elevation and wind. Now, the plant species that is present, the native species present there have adaptability. So, they are prioritized to reduce water stress. Even if you look at cucumber, when you eat cucumber, at a certain point you will feel it's very dry and you will not have any humidity present there. It will be very, very dry at that point. So, you get a kind of bitter feeling. That is also water stress. The cucumber is under water stress. Now, if we have, here the water stress we are talking about is when there are low water supply, the native plant species is prioritized. The implementation roadmap is that phase 1 is about 24 to 2030. We need to have nature-based restoration, and post 2030 they have planned about large scale intervention and new ideologies that can be brought in to change this particular phenomena. The broader environmental targets is that it wants to restore about 3.8 million hectares of degraded land by 2030. It wants to protect about less than 30% of land and marine areas. It wants to reduce emissions by 278 million tons annually by 2030, 50% of electricity from renewables by 2030, and net zero emissions by 2060. And this is via circular carbon economy, that is reduce, reuse and recycle. That's basically the ideology. So this is the target. So we see a lot of statistical data here. We don't have to entirely remember the statistical data. We can just remember that it wants to restore the degraded land, protect land and marine area, reduce emissions, and wants to create electricity from renewables and net zero emission via circular carbon economy. The basic core points and the tenets are the tenets that you have to remember. Next, water management critical constraint. The world's largest producer of desalinated water. Most of Saudi Arabia's water comes from desalination. This is a core point. Capacity, 16.6 million meter cube per day. This was in 2024, and the water, 32% of the water is reused. There's a 100% increase in water storage capacity. Cloud seeding, 711 flights, 6.4 million meter cube rainfall is generated, and 1,000 rainwater harvesting dams are under construction. This is recognized by the UN Water Committee as a model for water sustainability. So this with cloud seeding, this has been done, and that's how they have generated the rainfall. The next slide talks about conservation and monitoring. The protected land is increased from 4.5% to 18.1%, and the national parks expanded from 18 to approximately 500 national parks. The marine protected areas expanded by 260%. 40 air quality monitoring stations are present national wide. So henceforth, the significance is that one of the largest afforestation drives in arid ecosystems. This is the largest afforestation drive. It integrates climate mitigation and adaptation, biodiversity and water security. See, climate mitigation we know, adaptation based on flora and fauna, and biodiversity they want to grow it, water security because since it's in a drought region it faces a lot of water stress. The solutions illustrates nature-based solutions in desert environment. So the prelims practice question of the day, with reference to the Saudi Green Initiative, consider the following statements. The initiative aims to plant 10 billion trees within Saudi Arabia as part of Vision 2030 and follows a science-based native species restoration approach. Saudi Arabia relies exclusively on rainfall. No, it does not rely exclusively. And if that is the case, we wouldn't even have this greening initiative that it's taken on enhancement techniques like cloud seeding to support its large-scale afforestation efforts. So, answer should be one only. Let's check. Yes, the answer is one only. With this, we have come to the end of the second topic and we're moving to the third topic of the day. So, the third topic of the day is about the antimicrobial resistance. Recently, our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, had also told that the antimicrobial resistance is becoming a pandemic and it's a silent pandemic, and it is very, very important that we address that. And henceforth, it's very, very important in the UPSC point of view as well. So, let's look about it. The core news highlights that antimicrobial resistance has reached a silent pandemic stage as per experts from the Tata Institute of Genetics and Society. So these experts from the Tata Institute of Genetics and Society were the one who have classified the antimicrobial resistance as the silent pandemic. Wastewater surveillance is emerging as a reliable tool to determine AMR even when clinical reporting is inadequate. See, when we have wastewater, a lot of waste from the hospitals, a lot of waste from the industries, all of this comes, and they are all mixed with AMR, even when the clinical reporting is inadequate. Henceforth, they are actually called as AMR reservoirs. AMR reservoirs. And this is why it's very, very important that we have wastewater surveillance. And the CSIR, CCMB and CSIR IICT have been conducting environmental surveillance by analyzing open drains and sewage treatment plants. So by analyzing the open drains and sewage treatment plants, they've been able to identify how much amount of antimicrobial resistance is present and from where this originates, and the percentage all can be classified based on the environmental surveillance. And the gene profiling and metagenomic genomic analysis of sewage samples also have identified antibiotic resistance genes. So this is basically the when you consume an antibiotic and they find out that particular antibiotic, they're able to separate and identify how much of the antibiotic is actually resistant. The second one is indicate which antibiotics are becoming ineffective. So when you consume a lot of antibiotics, one particular antibiotic will not work for your body at one point in time, and that is very, very natural, and that is why which antibiotics are becoming ineffective is what we have to identify. They enable area specific AMR mapping. So in one area, one particular AMR can be very, very prominent, and in one particular area another AMR can be prominent. So they are mapping it based on the geography. And one more important thing is that AMR creates a lot of autoimmune diseases. So yeah, autoimmune diseases is also one important point. Experience from COVID-19 and wastewater surveillance has helped because they have helped us standardize protocols, and they have developed indigenous diagnostic kits that we have. We all remember that we had kits during COVID-19, and we could actually take it from a very, very easy format. Even at our home, we were able to use the kits to identify. So that's what it's saying, that this indigenous diagnostic kits were done after COVID-19. Next is about Rockefeller Foundation grant. It supports wastewater surveillance in city clusters. So the cluster 1 is Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Pune and Delhi. The objective is that it develops robust protocols. It creates local indigenous regions and kits. It builds the human resource capacity, and it improves public awareness to reduce antibiotic misuse, because the antibiotic misuse is happening and a lot of autoimmune diseases are on the rise. Next, antimicrobial resistance occurs when an organism evolves to resist the antibiotics, antivirals, antifungals or antiparasitics. It's recognized by WHO as one of the top 10 global public health threats. So it is this is what AMR is about. Basically, the microorganism resists the medicine that you give in. It can be antibiotic, antiviral, antifungal or antiparasitics, because you have consumed them in a large number, and this is recognized as WHO's top 10 public health threats. The wastewater and environmental surveillance shows that resistant genes are shed by population. The advantages is that when you use wastewater and you identify this, it captures community level data. It detects information even when the symptoms are mild or unreported. It's this particular wastewater analysis is earlier used for polio surveillance and COVID-19 early warning systems. So this was how it was earlier used, and this is how it is used now. Next, metagenomics is the study of genetic material that recovered directly from environmental samples. So metagenome X. So study of genome, here you can directly link it to genetic material. recovered from environmental samples. It enables the detection of bacteria, virus, fungi, or the resistant genes that are present. India's National Action Plan on AMR extended aligned with WHO Global Action Plan on AMR. So WHO's plan and India's national plan has a parallel here, and it follows One Health approach. What is this One Health approach? It's that the human, animal, and environmental interface are in a sync here, and WHO's International Pathogen Surveillance Network supports global pathogen AMR monitoring, encourages data sharing with privacy safeguards. AMR drivers are overuse and misuse of antibiotics, environmental contamination, climate change, when climate change is there, certain species rapidly multiply during hot weather. Certain species rapidly multiply during inclement weather. So in that case, climate change based pathogen emergence is also there. So misuse we have already seen, contamination also we have already seen. With reference to antimicrobial resistance AMR, consider the following statements. Wastewater surveillance can help detect antimicrobial resistance even in the absence of extensive clinical reporting. Yes. Metagenomic analysis of sewage samples allows identification of antibiotic resistant genes circulating in a population. Right. So the answer should be both 1 and 2 because both statements are right. Let's check the answer. So yes, both 1 and 2. So both the statements are right. With this, we have come to the end of the third topic and we are moving to the main topic of the day, which is about the rural-urban continuum. And let's understand more about that and how it is integrated in the waste management sector. Okay, the main topic of the day is about the rural-urban continuum and the waste management present there, and is there a match between the sustainability angle and the preparedness angle and how we have to go about things in the future. So the Swachh Bharat mission, Gramin mission, basically the villages based mission, was launched in 2014 to make rural India open defecation free. So basically there was a lack of toilets and then we wanted to create a sustainable space wherein open defecation should not be done and they have to have a behavioral change. Now this became the world's largest behavioral change movement. By 2019 from 2014, there were over 10 crore household toilets that were built. About 6+ lakh villages were declared open defecation free, which was earlier defecating in the open. Now this achievement is dedicated to the father of the nation, that is Mahatma Gandhi, and it's his 150th birth anniversary. It's aligned with the SDG 6, that is sanitation and hygiene. So this is about the Swachh Bharat mission Gramin. The impact of the Swachh Bharat mission phase 1 is that in health, WHO reports about 3 lakh diarrheal deaths. Now, the 3 lakh diarrheal deaths became, in the health angle, we see that about fewer deaths were there, about 3 lakh deaths were reduced from 2019 to 2014 due to improved sanitation. And in the economic angle, we see that open defecation free households saved about 50,000 rupees annually, because usually when in the previous case when they were actually defecating in the open, there were about 50,000 rupees of cost on healthcare. Now the healthcare based cost is reduced. In the environmental angle, the groundwater contamination earlier was very high. Now the groundwater contamination is reduced in the open defecation free areas, and 93% of women felt very, very safe to access the household toilets. Now the fecal sludge management, this is the core issue. Now we always find something precautionary, but how are we maintaining it is the question. Now we see that in rural India, the septic tanks and pits maintain containment system. These require regular cleaning and regular desludging, but is it done? No, it's not done. And here we can also talk about the purity and pollution concept, wherein people from one particular caste or people from one particular walk of life are the people who clean these septic tanks. And now we've bought in mechanized cleaning initiatives by the government, but still it's not completely mechanized, and we still have people from certain caste groups who desludge this particular septic tanks. Now, desludging, when it is irregular, when it is unsafe or done by informal operators, it becomes a core issue, because when it's done by informal operators, we see that there are a lot of deaths in when the people get in and when they clean. The lack of collection, the lack of transport, and the lack of treatment systems is also a very big risk. Now, when we have gains with the open defecation free system, this can also create undermining, because we don't have a proper waste management. We talk about toilets being built, but we don't understand that even if it is built without regular desludging, there is no big impact in the future. When we talk about a long-term visionary, it's already been 5 years since this has been implemented, and now it is almost 10 years with open defecation free zone. Now, when that is not present, this is creating a kind of huge impact. Now, moving on, in the SBM phase 2, we see that the focus shifts from toilet construction to sustainability. There is a large emphasis on solid and liquid waste management, behavioral change, and safe sanitation service chain. That is, on October 2025, 5.68 lakh villages were declared ODF plus, and now we see that in rural and peri-urban areas, this is very, very weak in link. So we see that in urban areas, the link is very strong, and still there is a mismatch between the urban and rural areas. The Satara Rural-Urban Partnership Model, that is, it is a rural and urban sanitation partnership, and 4 nearby villages were linked to this Satara city. And these villages had a common fecal sludge treatment plan. This was earlier underutilized. Now they have done every 5 years, they have scheduled a desludging carried out by authorized operators. It's not by informal operators, but by authorized operators, and the costs are recovered through a sanitation tax that they levy with a formal MOU between the municipal council and the panchayat. So here we have both bodies coming in and contributing. This is the Satara Rural Urban Partnership, very, very important. This can be used anywhere in GS2 and GS3, even in GS1, this example can be used anywhere. Now, the rural cluster based model, a large rural village practicing scheduled desludging every 5 to 7 years. Desludging is managed by private operators and SHGs. Now, you know, in colonial India earlier, only in cantonments and urban areas, they use this desludging process. So, it's historically been a very, very ostracized thing to talk about. So that's why it's important to create cluster level fecal sludge treatment under SPMG, and the plant will serve around 80 surrounding villages, showcasing a large scalability. Now the benefits is that shared infrastructure. So when they have underutilized treatment plants, this can utilize it in entirety. The cost efficiency, reducing sanitation costs, scheduled desludging, a form of regular and safe waste collection, better governance ensures accountability, scalability, regional systems sustain ODF plus gains. Mains practice question of the day: effective waste management requires planning beyond administrative boundaries. Critically analyze the statement in context of rural collaboration in sanitation and waste management. So this is a 15-marker question. You have to write for 3 pages, and you can separate. This is the first part, and this has the second part, and since it's critically analyzed, the critique as the third part, and finish the question. You can also send us your answer copies, so that we'll help you in your preparation and aid better. With this, we are moving to the prelims focus for the day. So now we have moved to the prelims focus for the day, and the first topic is about the Southern Ocean carbon anomaly. So what is this? See, this term refers to the unexpected behavior of the Southern Ocean and the functioning as a carbon sink in recent decades. In the recent decades, the Southern Ocean acts as a carbon sink. So henceforth, the prediction model is that there is a decline in the Southern Ocean carbon sink capacity. It has reduced CO2 at an anticipated form, and the absorption or even a potential net release. So whatever it has absorbed, it is going to release at one point, and that's why it is serving as something that is very, very dangerous. And the observational data is that the measurements since early 2000s indicate that the Southern Ocean has absorbed more CO2 than previously expected. The Southern Ocean, previously there was a ceiling limit as to how much it will absorb. Now it is superseded the ceiling limit, and henceforth it is very, very important to understand that anomaly. Now the next topic is about the lab grown diamonds. The lab grown diamonds are laboratory created diamonds produced by replicating the natural diamond growth process. Manufacturing methods. So they have high pressure first and high temperature. Using that, they are creating natural conditions which is found deep under the earth. They turn only with high pressure and high intensity of temperature. Now that is created in man-made format, and they are trying to replicate the natural conditions. In the chemical vapor deposition, this process involves introducing a gas mixture into a vacuum chamber to facilitate diamond growth. Now we see that the first is the stimulant diamond. It is an object or a material which resembles some features of the natural diamond. Some features of the natural diamonds are replicated. The cultured diamonds are one in which they are created from scratch, but the environment is same as the diamond mine. The type of simulant diamonds are diamond excess simulants, cubic zirconia simulant, moissanite simulant, HPHT diamonds, and CVD diamonds. These are some of the type of diamonds that we see. Now we come to the Prime Minister's scheme for mentoring youth authors. It is implemented by the National Book Trust from the Ministry of Education. It's aligned with the National Education Policy of 2020. The selection is that there are about 43 young authors below 30 years of age who are chosen via All India context in all 22 languages. And it is a 6-month mentorship by eminent scholars, and incentives are 50,000 per month scholarship plus 10% of lifetime royalty. Themes is Indian diaspora, Indian knowledge system, and makers of modern India. From 1950 to 2025, you can research about any of this and write. And it promotes young writers and nation building through ideas and writing. So with this, we come to the end of this topic, and we move to the prelims focus for the day. Which of the following best defines the Southern Ocean carbon anomaly? A sudden increase in carbon emissions from undersea volcanic, there is no volcanic activity here. The unexpected weakening or variability of the Southern Ocean's capacity to absorb atmospheric carbon dioxide. This is the potential answer. The permanent conversion of Southern Ocean from a carbon sink into a carbon source. Oh, this is not there. The accumulation of carbon-rich sediments on the ocean floor of the Southern Ocean. This is also not there. So the answer should be 2. Let's check. Yes, the answer is 2. With this, we have come to the end of the prelims focus and today's video. I hope you liked today's video. Please like, comment, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and again hit on the bell icon if you want to receive instant updates, and we are eagerly waiting for your feedback. Thank you for watching.